Welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha, a podcast shared by David Roylance. This podcast is dedicated to guiding you to completely eliminate the discontent mind and the suffering it causes by attaining enlightenment. Learn and practice the teachings of Gautama Buddha that will guide you to fully attain a peaceful, calm, serene, and content mind with joy. To support this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha or visit buddhadailywisdom.com, where you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online learning resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Now, here's our teacher to share more.
Sawadee-kap. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today is our group learning program, and we're going to be doing a guided loving kindness meditation. So welcome to all of you, whether you're joining for the first time or you're joining regularly. You'll be able to be guided in a loving kindness meditation today. This meditation is to transform the mind away from anger, frustration, any kind of hatred or ill will, any kind of irritation or annoyance, hostility, bitterness, even dislike. That by the time you get to enlightenment and practicing loving kindness meditation, you won't even have the slightest dislike towards other beings. You can also eliminate negative self-talk within your own mind. So if you have this diminishing, degrading talk in the mind, this inner dialogue where you're beating yourself up and things like this meditation will actually help you to eliminate that as well. So if you'd like to join along, the way that I do this is I start with chanting to ease us into the meditation. Then I'll come in with some breathing mindfulness meditation guidance and guiding you in breathing mindfulness meditation. And then after that, there'll be a brief period of quietness, maybe 3 minutes or so, where we're meditating using breathing mindfulness meditation. Then I'm going to come back in with the loving kindness meditation. I'm going to be guiding you with affirmations. You'll hear me saying these affirmations out loud, and you can repeat these in the mind on the out breath. Then there'll be a period of time where we'll go back to breathing mindfulness meditation and come out with the chanting. So I often think about this like a loving kindness sandwich, that in the middle you've got loving kindness, the lettuce and tomato on the outside, that's the breathing mindfulness meditation, and then you've got the bread holding it all together, which is the chanting. So if you'd like to join along, we usually do this meditation in the seated, lying, or standing positions. Even though there is a walking position, we tend to not do loving kindness meditation in that position because it just doesn't work. So seated, lying, or standing are perfect for the loving kindness meditation. So take whatever position is comfortable for you. I'm going to start us out with the chants, and you're welcome to chant along if you know these chants. And then I'm going to come back in with the guidance for the meditation. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Ho Tang Bhagavan Hang Apivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso emakawa arahang sammasambuddho Vicacaranang sammuno Sakatoro kawito Anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusanang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, with the hands and arms comfortable, and the lower body relaxed, in the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Then I'll be back with more guidance on loving kindness meditation. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Repeat these affirmations in the mind on the out breath. May I be peaceful. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May my family, friends, co-workers, and neighbors all be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May all those who I come into contact with today be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May all those who hate me be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May all beings be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะคะวะโพตังมะคะวันนังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิโตอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation, welcome to everyone once again. Welcome to our class. Today, we just do a breathing mindfulness meditation and loving kindness meditation together just to guide you in some meditation and helping you to develop your practice. If you're doing meditation on your own, you might be building up to 2 or 3 sessions per day for 30 minutes or more. And making loving kindness meditation, the morning meditation, can be really helpful because you go out into your day practicing through your intention, speech, and actions to be more loving and more kind. And this is what will help transform your mind and transform your relationships. Oftentimes we think it's other people that need to change, and sure, they may be wise to institute some change in their life, but you can't control whether other people get help and whether they choose to change. But you can change your own mind. You can work on your own mind and transform your own mind. And that's what this meditation is about, and everything else on the path to enlightenment is about improving the condition of your mind. So this meditation isn't to change other people or try to wish people well, or some kind of aspiration where you're asking some being to change other people. These affirmations that you're doing is to transform your own mind to be more loving and kind when you're interacting with people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. And if you do this meditation, slowly but surely, it'll wear away all the anger, hatred, ill will, the frustration, irritation, annoyance, all those painful feelings associated with anger, hatred, and ill will. And then what I'm going to do now is just open up to any and all questions that you guys have, whether it's about meditation or any other aspect of the path to enlightenment. You can ask questions if you like by putting those into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any and all questions that you like. I see Yusuf has a question. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. I would like to ask about a situation that happened with me and a friend. as I think that friend has a lot of ego, so he tends to put blame on others or put judgment on them. And as an enlightened being, I will have also an ego that will be hating what he does. So we had a discussion that he was blaming me for what I did, and I tried to answer him like whatever he say. I try to answer that by telling that no, I think what I did is right. So he kept talking, and I kept answering, but that made my mind so frustrated, seeing the blame that he is keep telling me and the judgment that he keeps saying. So is it wise to just let it go and say okay to whatever he say, or to keep answering him about what to do? I don't know.
Yeah, when people are coming at you and, blaming you for things that they're experiencing, this is their own cravings, desires, attachments. This is their wrong view. And they're giving you unsolicited guidance and trying to tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing. At this early stage in your development, Yusuf, I would suggest that you just walk away. Honestly, this is like the best thing to do, because by you just sitting there and giving this person the outlet to tell you all these things, this is where, your cravings, desires, attachments, you're taking that in, and your frustration and anger is going to be building. And now you might become unskillful yourself through your intentions, your speech, and your actions, and you damage relationships. Oftentimes it's just better to walk away, and slowly but surely these people learn that you're not just going to sit there and let them put their expectations on you, and you're not going to allow them to just sit there and give you this unsolicited guidance, that you're going to walk away. And slowly but surely people start to learn that it's unwise to do these things. Whereas if you sit there and you entertain what it is that they're saying, and you get bitter and harsh and hostile back with them, or whatever it is, or you start giving them unsolicited guidance, this is just kind of allowing this behavior to continue to go on. And you can't control what your people around you are doing, but you can control your own mind. And oftentimes it's best to just walk away from these situations. With that said, something I would like to just point out to you, because I'm not sure if you're seeing it, is that you're saying that your friend has ego and they're judging you and these kinds of things, which very well could be true. And I think you already know this, because I heard a little bit of this in your question, is it sounds like your mind is doing the exact same thing. So just be aware of that you keep your ego in check and work on eliminating that more and more, and that you're not judging them and looking down on them as well, because that would be unwise for you to do. And as long as you're doing these things, the people around you are going to tend to do them as well.
Will that be harming my reputation if I just said okay to him and let go of the conversation? Like he tends to say all the things that happened in his life to all his friends. So he will call all of our friends and even the guys that I don't know, and will tell him about my mistake or the thing that he did blame me about. So isn't that harming my reputation? And if I didn't answer whatever he say, he will just go to his friends saying that, oh, look, Yusuf is doing this and that and this and that, and he didn't have any answer for me. Therefore, I am right and he is wrong.
You can't control what he does and what he doesn't do. The craving or the desire in your mind to defend your reputation and defend yourself, this is coming from your personal existence view. That first fetter that you've learned about a bit, that's what the mind's wanting to defend yourself. Because no matter what, this person can go out there and gossip and slander you no matter what. And while you've been calling this person a friend, I would say anybody who's conducting themselves this way is not a friend. And I wouldn't suggest that you continue in a relationship with this type of person. I suggest you just gradually move away from this individual, because if they're out there damaging your reputation, yes, that's what they would be doing. Like you're asking, yes, that is damaging your reputation, but you can't control whether that happens or it doesn't happen. Even the Buddha himself, people talked and slandered him and gossiped him during his life. So you're never going to get to a time where everybody in the world loves you and everybody talks nice of you. If you have somebody that's out there gossiping and slandering about you, and then there's other people who believe those things, and then they look down on you and judge you because of it, none of those people are actually your friends. I'll tell you a little bit of a story to help you understand this and how you can actually function when these things are occurring. When I was married the first time, I was married to a person who I started a business with, and her and I were married. And after about 5 or 6 years, we decided to get a divorce and move on. When we did so, she went around and gossiped and slandered me to all the employees, even to my friends and family, and even to like people that were business partners, like my accountant. And this was my accountant long before I ever even met her. I had this accountant for a really long time. So she went around and slandered me with all of these people. Well, after the divorce was over and she moved on because I maintained the business, these people, some of them, went with her, and even my accountant went with her, right? And afterwards, I became so successful. This was so beneficial for me because what she ended up doing is she ended up taking all the people that weren't really loyal and committed to me and didn't understand who I was as a person, and they just believed what it was that she told them. And what I was left with were the people who were actually loyal and committed to me. And then I built up this company to be really, really strong, and it was more successful than it ever was when we were operating it together. So if you have people in your life that are gossiping and slandering, right away you should know that they're not a friend of yours and you're not really interested in having a relationship with them because they're just going to keep damaging your reputation over and over. And if you have other people who they're gossiping and slandering to about you and they choose to no longer be your friend, then that's actually beneficial to you because it's taking away the people that aren't really loyal and committed to you and don't understand who you are as a person, that they're just believing whatever people are telling you. What you're interested in doing is cultivating relationships around you with people who are supportive and encouraging, and that they understand you're a work in progress and you're not perfect. So if somebody is pointing out to you, all these wrong and bad things that you're doing, and then they're going and gossiping and slandering about you, they're not seeing their own problems, that they're actually causing harm by gossiping and slandering and doing these kinds of things. And if these people are interested in doing those kinds of things, I suggest you distance yourself from them because you're only interested in having people who are encouraging and supportive in your life and who really love you. And love, remember, is to not have any expectations of you and not wanting you to be any particular way, not trying to control you or force you to do any particular thing, but they just love you as you are. And anybody who has unconditional love for you would understand you're a work in progress. You're not perfect. You're not an enlightened being. So of course you're making mistakes. Of course you're doing unwise things in some situations. And if somebody is having this expectation of you that you should be perfect, and if you're anything less than perfect, they're going to go out and gossip and slander you. This isn't an actual real friend. And I would suggest that you move on from those relationships.
Well, I can say two things here to reply on you. First, that he is my friend, how to just walk away from him. I will feel a little pain in my chest, even though that I know it would be wholesome, but I know that there will be pain. And the second thing, that your first wife was doing that out of hatred, but my friend just doing that out of, I think, his ego, like seeing himself above, and he is the all-knowing of all things, and all the others are just, sorry, but stupid. So should I continue? You can talk.
Okay, so first, the pain that you're talking about that you'll experience in your chest if you went away from this person, that's the bodily sensation associated with the craving, desire, attachment in your own mind to this person. So if your mind is clinging and craving and holding on to this person, when your relationship is over and you move on, you're going to experience some discontentedness. And it's going to start with bodily sensations, then it's going to become a feeling, then it's going to affect the condition of your mind, and it's feeding this mental object. Holding on to this person isn't actually going to solve your problem. Your problem is that you're attached to this person, number one. The other issue is that you're making unwise decisions about the type of friends to associate with. And as long as you're choosing to associate with individuals like this, then you're going to continue to experience the unwholesome results of people damaging your reputation. This is your unwholesome karma based on your decision based in craving, right? Whenever you make decisions through craving, anger, and ignorance, those three unwholesome roots, it's going to produce unwholesome results. So as long as you're making decision with craving, which is holding on and clinging to this friend, it's going to keep producing unwholesome results for you. You're going to need to train your mind to let go and understand that in the past, you've made a bunch of unwise decisions, not just about friends, but a bunch of other things. And what this path to enlightenment is to clean up your life practice and to clean up and extinguish all your unwholesome karma. So this unwholesome karma that you're experiencing is a result of your craving and clinging to this relationship. And in my opinion, the best way for you to extinguish this unwholesome karma and these unwise decisions is to move on from the relationship. And you can do that without talking to the person, without telling the person, and just gradually move on and distance yourself further and further. And yeah, it's going to be painful because you have craving, desire, attachment in the relationship. And this is the whole reason why you guys are struggling to begin with, because any relationship that you have craving, desire, attachment in, you're going to experience discontentedness. So that's the first thing. In terms of my ex-wife and her motivations behind slander and gossip, yes, there's hatred there, but it's always craving, anger, and ignorance that is producing any kind of unwholesome results. So she experienced a certain amount of craving and wanting to hold on to me, and she was experiencing anger and hatred, and she was also experiencing this lack of wisdom, right? And this was my unwise decision in this relationship, and for a long time, I was holding on to this relationship when I could have ended this relationship much earlier, because I realized early on that this was an unwise decision to be in this marriage. Even though I learned a lot, I still love her. I love everybody in the world. I love her, but I know that we shouldn't be together. I have this genuine interest in seeing her be well. But my craving and my clinging in that relationship led to these unwholesome results. But ultimately, I extinguished that karma by using this opportunity where she took away all these people who were not committed and loyal to me to establish a really strong, vibrant business. And then ultimately I had my new wife who was very loyal and very committed to me, because even when her and I had some difficulties and challenges, she didn't just run out and start gossiping to all these people about me. Her and I worked together to solve our challenges. So you're going to see that you're going to have this unwholesome karma coming back to you. So as long as you cling to this relationship, as long as you have this clinging and craving, you're going to keep experiencing these unwholesome results. So it's your decision of what you choose to do. Of course, I would never try to force you or coerce you to do anything specific. I'm just sharing with you the natural law of karma, that by your decision to cling and crave in this relationship and hold on to this relationship, it's going to produce unwholesome results for you. And whether you choose to stay in the relationship or not, that's your choice. Everything in your life is your choice. But just understand, you're going to continue to experience unwholesome results because of this.
There's something about relationships I have been struggling with for months and months. There was a friend or a lot of friends that are interacting with others with not wholesome ways. So I see some of my friends are very good friends with that person, but me myself, I'm not a good friend with that person because of his unwholesome decisions and actions. So whenever this thought come to my mind to end our friendship or to walk away, something come in my mind that I am trying to be an enlightened person. So if I struggle to be a friend with him, how to be enlightened? Like my friends then struggling with him, why would I be struggling and walk away? So I keep being in unwholesome relationships over and over.
Yeah, so in order to get to enlightenment, you're going to need to get to a point where you're developing a life that is based on wise decisions. And as part of doing that, oftentimes what we do is our life kind of contracts on us. We kind of like shrink down the number of people that we spend time with, because the things that we were doing in the past and decisions that we were making in the past were unwise. So oftentimes what people choose to do is they shrink down the number of people you have contact with, because when you have a lot of people in your life, you're having contact with all these people, you're generating all kinds of karma. And because your mind is not yet enlightened and you're making a certain amount of unwise decisions, you're constantly producing unwholesome karma, because you've told me enough and shared enough with me about all these different relationships that you're in. and it's nothing but unwholesome karma. Sure, you guys are probably doing some wise things together too, here and there, but there's a lot of unwholesome karma that's being generated through all this contact that you have with all these people. Whereas if you shrink down the number of people that you spend time with, you're immediately reducing your unwholesome karma because you have less contact with people. And now by shrinking down the amount of contact you have, it gives you more time to work on your own mind, to study the teachings of the Buddha, to come to classes, to meditate, and all these kinds of things. And you can go an extended period of time where you're working on your own mind. And then as you're getting better and better and your mind's getting closer and closer to enlightenment, then you can expand back out and essentially rebuild your life. This is what all the people did, like the Buddha, Jesus Christ, Prophet Muhammad. They all kind of go in this period of contraction, right? The Buddha went away for 6 years from his family. Jesus went away for a period of time. And I think Prophet Muhammad did the same thing. So you are not the Buddha, Jesus Christ, or Prophet Muhammad, but you can see the model here. And I did the same thing. I went away from society for a good 3 years where I just went internal and I just worked on my own mind for an extensive period of time. And then having done that work, I expanded back out. So you're most likely going to need to do that same exact thing because that's the recipe that works. If you maintain these kinds of relationships, it's just going to keep producing more and more unwholesome karma, and you're going to just keep having to deal with it. The goal on the path to enlightenment is to extinguish your unwholesome karma. But as long as you have all these unwise decisions and all these unwholesome friends, you're going to keep producing unwholesome karma. You're not actually extinguishing it. So right now, while your thought is very admirable that you would like to have harmonious relationships with everybody, and that's what you would ultimately be able to get to as an enlightened being. But right now doesn't seem like that's the time for you because your mind hasn't gone internal to do all this work so that you can then expand back out.
I have a friend that makes a lot of jokes on everyone, and I am one of them. What would be there any unwholesome karma if I said to him, I will ask him to stop joking about like me, for example, not the others, but me?
You can't control what other people do. There's no unwholesome karma by asking somebody, can you please stop joking about me? But that's not going to solve your problem, right? Because this individual is going to do what they do because they have certain cravings, they have certain anger, and they have certain ignorance or unknowing of true reality. And you can't stop that because it's their own mind that's choosing to do that. In fact, sometimes when you tell people to stop doing these things, they will actually do it more. All you can do is control your own decisions. And that's why the decision that you can control here is whether or not you have contact with this person and whether or not you have a relationship with this person. That's the only thing that you can control in this relationship. So as long as you choose to be in a relationship with someone who's making such unwise decisions and is trying to damage you and destroy you and harm you in this way, you're going to just keep experiencing that harm. So it's unwise to maintain these kinds of relationships, and you can't convince this person enough to function wisely because they have to make those choices themselves through cultivating wisdom. So the only thing you can do is choose whether or not you're going to be friends with this person or not.
So I can walk away from him because my mind is not prepared to accept whatever he say. Like I have ego, self-image, and those things, right? This is what you are talking about.
Right.
And I can choose to stay also if I want.
Right. And while you're working on your mind like this, and you've been studying for less than a year with me, maybe 6 months or so, your mind is not well developed and well disciplined at this point. So shrinking down the number of people that you spend time with, and particularly shrinking down the number of unwise and unwholesome friends that you have, this is going to be very beneficial for you. The Buddha teaches this very clearly in his teachings, and he talks about how much of a priority it is in order to have wholesome friends. Because you having difficulties with ego and having difficulties with right speech and all these other things, if you're surrounded by people who have a lot of ego and who are gossiping and slandering, you also are using wrong speech and things like this, your mind's going to tend to lean in that direction. So by cleaning up the number of people that you're spending time with and who you spend time with, this will actually help you to lean towards wholesome things and wise things. So as long as you're around unwise and unwholesome individuals, your mind's going to lean towards that. So it's not going to solve your problem to move on from this relationship, but it will shrink down your unwholesome karma, and it will give you an opportunity to work on your own mind. And maybe sometime in the future, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, maybe you'll be able to have a relationship with this person. You don't know that. But as long as your mind is untrained and undisciplined, as long as their mind is untrained and undisciplined, then you guys are just going to keep having problems over and over and over again. What this person has learned is, I gossip and slander about Yusuf, and he continues to be my friend. In his mind, he doesn't see any problem with gossiping and slandering. But when you choose to go away from him, somewhere in his mind, he might start to see that it's unwise to gossip and slander. And then that gives you the time to work on your own mind. And then potentially sometime in the future, if you cross paths, you might be able to have a relationship. And that's why you're not interested in going to him and saying, okay, I can't be your friend anymore because I want you to stop doing this and stop doing this and stop doing this, and you won't do that. You don't need to confront him because you're just listing out your cravings of all the things you want him to do. You're just listing out all your expectations. Instead, just realize that this relationship is not on solid ground, because in order to have a healthy relationship, you need to have politeness, kindness, friendliness, and respect. And he doesn't have that in this relationship. So there's no ability for you guys to have a healthy relationship. So you need to be able to just see that and know that, and then decide to move on. And now when you just gradually move on away from the relationship, now let's just say sometime in the future, you've worked on your mind, maybe he's figured some things out, you guys have gotten older, you've gotten more mature, you guys have learned some things, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, you guys cross paths, and maybe, you can strike up a conversation and see where things are at. But right now, it doesn't sound like it's healthy at all, and continuing to stay in the relationship is just going to produce more unwholesome karma.
Would you like to see if anyone has a question? Because they might be on a hurry. I am not.
Yeah, I don't know that anyone's in a hurry, but I do have some other questions. So let me answer these. And then if you would like to talk some more, you can definitely ask some more questions. So Helena is asking a question. I read that in times of Buddha, there were a man who killed 999 people, yet still attained enlightenment under Buddha's guidance. How is this possible? How did the guy extinguish so much unwholesome karma? So everything that anyone has done in the past is in the past. And it's your ability to attain enlightenment isn't based on what you've done in the past. It's based on the condition of your mind now in the present moment. This is actually a true story, that the Buddha was almost killed by this person. This person almost, was trying to murder the Buddha. I don't know if you read the whole story. If you'd like me to tell it to you, I surely can. But this individual obviously had a certain amount of craving, anger, and ignorance in his mind to be able to kill 999 people. And through the guidance of the Buddha, he learned through the path of how to extinguish the craving, anger, and ignorance. And through doing that, he was then able to attain enlightenment. So it's not about what you've done in the past. It's about training your mind and extinguishing those pollutions. And then as the unwholesome karma is coming back to you, you need to extinguish it. So one of the unwholesome karma that this gentleman experienced is the king's royal guard came to the Buddha and was asking about this guy, and they wanted to arrest him because they knew that he had killed so many people. And the Buddha was teaching this king as well, and he was teaching many people in the community, and he was teaching this murderer too. And when the royal guard came to the Buddha and asked what he knew about this guy, the Buddha was saying, I haven't seen that guy that's murdered those people in a very long time. Like, I don't know where he's at, essentially, is what the Buddha got to. And, the royal guard was kind of confused. And then the Buddha basically pointed out that there is this guy who used to be that person, but now he's no longer that person. He's completely transformed his mind. So this individual had shaved his hair, he's wearing an orange robe, he was being very polite and very cordial. And the Buddha sent word with the royal guard back to the king that, hey, I've got this guy, he's under training with me, and he's working on his mind, and he's no longer that same person that murdered those people. So the Buddha helped him to extinguish his unwholesome karma. It was the decision decisions that this person made to learn and develop their mind with the Buddha that led to this wholesome karma, but the Buddha helped him to extinguish his karma by sending word back to the king like, hey, this person is no longer the same person that you know him as. So he didn't get arrested from this, and he was able to continue his training, and he was able to ultimately get to enlightenment. So it's not based on your past deeds of whether you get to enlightenment or not. It's based on the condition of your mind and the pollution in your mind. So even if you've done lots of unwholesome things in the past, you can still get to enlightenment in this life. And I use this example, this story, in situations because oftentimes students are doubting whether they can get to enlightenment or not, because we've all done unwholesome things and unwise things in the past. And I share with people, like, I know you haven't murdered 999 people. There's just no way. So if this person can get to enlightenment, having attained enlightenment during the lifetime of the Buddha, having killed 999 people, okay, so someone's lied or stealed or had sexual misconduct or used drugs and alcohol. Okay, you might have done these kinds of things, but no matter what you've done in the past, you can get to enlightenment in this life if you continue to train. And if you don't get to enlightenment in this life, then whatever wisdom you cultivate is going to help you in your next life. So it's not based on your past deeds, it's based on the condition of the mind. Okay, so Julia has a question. Thank you, teacher. I feel more peace during meditation, but I find that even when I schedule meditation, my mind pushes it away and prefers to prioritize other things, which I know internally is not as important as meditation. How can I make meditation more regular? So you got to gradually chip away at this. This is the complacency that the mind has, and also the cravings, desires, attachments to be doing those other things. So you need to keep pushing through it. It's kind of like when we were children, our parents kept telling us to brush our teeth and take a shower, and we didn't want to do it. We wanted to keep playing, right? Because we had cravings, desires, attachments. We wanted to watch TV. We wanted to play video games. Maybe you were playing with Barbie dolls. Maybe you were playing with your friends. Maybe you were doing other things. And the last thing we were interested in doing was taking a shower and brushing our teeth. But slowly but surely, we started seeing the benefits in brushing our teeth and taking a shower. By the time we were 10, 12, 14 years old, our parents didn't have to tell us as much or at all in order to take a shower and brush our teeth, because we saw the benefits. We liked it when our mouth was more clean, and we liked smelling good. We liked the feel of taking a shower. So because we saw the benefits in it, we just had the tendency to do it more and more regularly for ourselves. So you need to just keep arising the ambition and motivation and enthusiasm to meditate. And eventually, as you start seeing more and more benefits, you get to the point where you can't imagine going a day without meditating. Just like now, you probably can't imagine going a day without brushing your teeth and taking a shower. And surely that happens occasionally. Like if you're sick or something like this, you might occasionally go a day or two without taking a shower or brushing your teeth, but that's about it. And the same thing with meditation, that as you're developing your practice, you're seeing more and more benefit, you'll start getting more and more consistent. So motivate yourself, because what you're going to see is that when you don't meditate, as you probably have already, that your mind isn't as calm, it isn't as peaceful, that things don't go as well for you in your day. Just like when you don't brush your teeth and you don't take a shower, you don't feel quite as good that day. You feel kind of icky. And the same thing is true about meditation. So the more you see the benefits in it, the more you can be motivated to do it. But then just know that occasionally you're going to miss meditation here or there. And that's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up about it or feel guilty. This is the impermanent nature of your meditation. Just gradually build up to 2 or 3 sessions per day for 30 minutes or more, knowing that you're going to miss meditation here or there. And as I think you've heard me share before, that your enlightenment isn't going to be determined based on whether you missed meditation in this particular session or not. What's going to determine your enlightenment is, now that you've missed meditation, what do you do next? Do you allow that to become 2, 3, 4, 5 meditations that you miss? Or do you realize like, oh, I missed meditation. Okay, well, let me get right back into this. So if you can consistently meditate over a long-term period, that's what's going to improve the condition of your mind and lead potentially to enlightenment. So if you miss a meditation here or there, okay, no big deal, get right back into it. I even did that. I was just traveling last week, and my son and I were on the road, and it was like 2 or 3 p.m. and I was noticing like, oh, I didn't meditate today. Oh, I need to be sure I get my session in this evening because I didn't meditate this morning. So even occasionally you're going to see that kind of thing because we were traveling around and moving and stuff like this, and I missed a meditation session. So that one miss of meditation was maybe 1 out of, maybe 10 that I've missed in, the last few months, but it didn't become, 3 days without meditating or 1 week without meditating. That's where it becomes really detrimental. So if you miss a session here or there, no need to feel guilty or shameful. Just get right back into it and just keep being committed to it. And as you see more benefits, you'll start having more of the tendency to choose to meditate, and your mind at the same time is going to be letting go of more and more of these attachments. Whatever it is that your mind's choosing to do instead of meditating, like maybe searching and surfing on social media or other things that you might be doing, more and more your mind will be able to put those things down and then choose to go meditate, because not only are you seeing the benefits, but because you're meditating and practicing generosity and all these other things, your mind's letting go more and more. So you'll find it easier to let go of whatever you're doing and choose to go meditate because of the benefits that you're seeing and because your mind's having less and less craving. Julia has some more here. She says, I realize that during anger, I am quite impulsive and make rash decisions. Once I realize I'm angry, should I just redirect my mind or let go and keep saying it is your own mind that is the problem? I appreciate all your help. These two things can actually be one and the same. If you see that the anger is arising, yes, you can redirect the mind and go take a walk, go ride a bicycle, whatever it is that you're going to do. And at the same time, you can be telling yourself, hey, this is your own mind. It's not your husband. It's not your husband's family. It's not your children. It's not your work or your boss or, whatever it is that the mind is arising this anger about. You can just remind yourself, hey, this is all impermanent. It's just the mind's craving permanence. As you're walking away, walking down the street, you can be kind of talking to yourself in your own mind and reminding yourself of impermanence. This is what the Buddha talked about when he talks about reflecting on impermanence. I don't know if you've seen this in his teachings. He talks about how it's wise to reflect on impermanence, basically looking inward and realizing all the things around you are impermanent. So in those situations where your mind is holding on and is getting so angry, you can just remind yourself of impermanence. Sometimes even laugh at yourself. I remember sometimes when I was training my mind that I would be, in the middle of a spurt of anger, and I would just start busting out laughing, realizing how silly I am for holding on to this one particular thing or these two particular things. And I would just start busting out laughing at myself. I'd be in the middle of this intense rage and anger, and I would just start busting out laughing. And you can do these kinds of things and just look how silly you are holding on to this simple little thing that is just impermanent, and the mind keeps craving this permanence. So rather than feel guilty or shameful or beating yourself up, remind yourself of impermanence. Yes, redirect the mind, but also just laugh at yourself. You don't need to take the path to enlightenment so serious, right? Like sometimes we see these pictures of the Buddha sitting in meditation being so solemn and serious. And that's how people like to depict the Buddha, right? And people like to think of the Buddha that way. But a Buddha, an enlightened being, is going to be very, jovial. They're going to be very joyful by the time they get to enlightenment. So all these real serious pictures and depictions of the Buddha that you see, that's not the way he was all the time. When he's meditating, he's going to be deep in meditation. But all the other times, he's going to be joyful and peaceful. He's not like so uptight and serious. So you can do the same thing, is have fun, pointing out to your mind, like, look how silly you are. You're craving this little thing. You're wanting this thing to be permanent. There's just no way it's going to happen. So this can kind of lighten the mood so you're not so serious. Yeah, you need to be determined and dedicated and diligent to the path to enlightenment. But when the mind's getting so super serious and uptight, that's when you got to get, let that go and just realize like that's not going to lead to enlightenment. That's part of the problem. And it looks like Julia has some more here as well. I feel that if I realize I am angry within the first 3 seconds of anger, I am able to shut it off. However, if it brews for longer, My mind is unable to come back easily to a place of calm. Exactly. That's great that you're seeing that truth, Julia, because that's what I teach you guys when you're meditating, that the goal isn't to eliminate your thoughts. The goal is to notice the thought sooner and sooner and be able to cut it off and let it go easier and easier. And that's why it's so important to have that mindfulness or awareness of mind. The Buddha talks about this as a guard, where you would like to guard the mind, right, with your mindfulness. That awareness of mind that you're practicing, that's the guard. So the sooner and sooner that you can catch it and either redirect your mind or cut it off and let it go, that's what's going to protect the mind. If you allow it to permeate in the mind and your mind dwells in that anger, yeah, it's a lot harder to get it out. It's kind of like if you were in the boat going from the US to the UK, if as soon as the boat springs the leak, you would like to plug that leak and get the water out as soon as possible. Because if you just sit there and let the water keep rushing into the boat, you're going to have more and more of a problem to deal with. So the sooner you can cut this off and let it go, the better it preserves your mind. And you would like to back this up as far as you can to the point where you're actually observing the bodily sensations arising, and you can cut it off and let it go there. If you're catching it as a feeling, okay, that's better than nothing, but try to back that up even more where you're just noticing the bodily sensations associated with anger and cut it off and let it go there. So in your meditation, the sooner and sooner that you can notice the thought and cut it off and let it go, the better, because then in daily life, you'll be able to do the same thing. You'll notice these discontent feelings sooner and sooner and be able to cut it off and let it go easier and easier. So that's great that you're seeing that truth. And now you can just keep practicing diligently and in a committed way to be able to develop that quality more and more so that you can notice it sooner and sooner and cut it off easier and easier. Okay, let's see. We have a question here from Yihang. Teacher David, thank you very much for all you're doing. I have a question about the human existence in the cycle of rebirth. Are there only beings from animal realm and heavenly realm, and also human realm itself will be possibly directly reborn into human form? That means beings from afflicted spirit realm and hell realm are not able to? Thanks. Actually, all of these 5 realms, beings can be reborn out of any of these 5 realms into any of the other 5 realms. You can move from hell into animal, afflicted spirit, human, or even heavenly realm. And the same thing, you can move from the heavenly realm down into any of these other realms, or human into any of these other realms. There isn't what you're describing. That's not actually how it works. It's very rare for beings to go from the hell realm up to a human realm or up to a heavenly realm. That's very rare, but it can actually happen. And this is where you can see beings that are, very angry and has extensive amounts of craving in the human realm. Because here in the human realm, even though we are human beings, there's beings that are coming out of the heavenly realm and or going to the heavenly realm. And there's beings in the human realm that are either coming out of the human realm or going back into the human realm. And the same thing with these other realms, that there's beings in the human realm that have recently come out of the hell realm or animal realm or afflicted spirit realm, or they're going back to those realms. So you can see beings that function in the human realm very much like a hell being, very much like an animal, very much like an afflicted spirit, very much as a heavenly being as well. There's beings that are like that function that way. Depending on what you understand about these realms, you can actually identify individuals who are functioning very much like these beings. So as you're noticing those kinds of things, this is confirmation to you that what I'm sharing with you is the truth. This isn't a major part of the path to enlightenment to be identifying these kinds of things, but the more you know about these realms, you'll be able to see these kinds of things, and that beings can move in and out of these realms in all different kinds of ways. Okay, let me see if we have any questions before we come back to you, Yusuf. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions on Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. So Yusuf, if you would like to ask more questions, you're welcome to.
Thanks. To continue what we were talking about, you said to if you walked away from that friend, you are like telling to his mind that if you keep gossiping, I will not be around. Isn't that teaching, like you say, do not teach others? For example, that same friend that I said that he say jokes on me, I have loving kindness for him, therefore I smile when he does that. But the best thing to do is to just like not to smile or to show him that I am not interested in having fun with what he is saying about me or about others. But I don't do that because I think it is teaching.
Yeah, so that first part that you talked about, I didn't say that and I wouldn't recommend that. I don't recommend that you go to him and you let him know that if he doesn't stop gossiping about you, you can't be his friend anymore. I didn't say that. I don't recommend that. I recommend that you make a decision in your own mind to either be friends with this person or move on. And my recommendation would be to move on, because you have clear indication that this person is not practicing loving kindness with you. And this person is not interested in seeing you experience beneficial things in the world, because they're degrading you and disparaging you and slandering you and gossiping you within your friend community. And based on what you've shared with me about all the different friends that you have, it seems like these kind of behaviors and others are pretty common amongst the individuals that you spend time with. And this is one of the reasons why your mind does these kinds of things too. And as long as you stay in this, your mind's going to tend to lean in that direction. It's kind of like taking a bath in dirty bath water. You know, if you continue to go to the dirty bath water, you're never going to get clean. You're going to continue to stay dirty. That's why the Buddha teaches you to drain the tub and fill up the tub with clean water so that you can get clean. So as long as you continue to associate with a lot of unwise, unwholesome people and unwholesome things, you're going to continue to stay dirty like this, and you're going to continue to experience unwholesome results or unwholesome karma.
I didn't mean to go and tell him, but when I decide that in my mind, like to walk away from him, his mind will unconsciously understand that I did that because he did that or something like this. But my main question here is, when I do not smile at my friend's joke on me, is that like teaching him to stop? It's okay, because my main point is to make him stop do that. When I don't smile back at him, he will see that I am not enjoying it or something, so he will stop doing it.
Yeah, if you choose to leave out of the relationship, you shouldn't be doing it because you're trying to teach him a lesson. That shouldn't be the reason why you leave. Or if you choose to smile or not smile, it shouldn't be because you're trying to teach him a lesson, because he's not necessarily going to learn that, and that's not your role and your responsibility to teach him a lesson. Even if you choose to leave out of the relationship, he may not realize that it's his conduct that is made you choose to move out of the relationship. You shouldn't be attached to teaching him a lesson. That's not your role here. What you would like to do is cultivate a life where you're making wise decisions and it's producing wholesome results for you. And in some situations, you're going to have to let go of existing relationships. And based on what you've shared with me over the number of months that I've known you, it sounds like you're going to need to let go of quite a few relationships that you have in your life, because you've made a lot of unwise decisions about who to have relationships with. And that's just because you haven't had the wisdom of how to cultivate healthy relationships in your life. And that's understandable. There's some people that are like that. If you've ever heard me talk about this, I teach about how on your journey to enlightenment, there are certain relationships that you're going to need to let go of and just move on from. And then there's other relationships that you're more committed to and that you're going to need to potentially put those relationships on pause, step away from them, work on your own mind. And then at some point, you're going to need to come back into those relationships in order to work them out. But then there's brand new relationships with people you haven't even met yet that you're only ever going to be loving and kind with, and you're going to be practicing these teachings closely. And then you guys can have very fulfilling, satisfying, and sustaining relationships. But as long as you're holding on to these kinds of relationships, you're not going to be able to move on and be able to create this life for yourself where you're associating with people who are into wholesome and wise things.
You are aware that not everyone will gonna be kind with you, and I am also aware of the story about the cousin of the Buddha, right? He was so like disrespectful to him, and there could be any new guy that I meet could be disrespectful with me. So what I meant here is to, like, if anyone new, not talking about my past relationships, if anyone new said a joke on me, and that is common for the people to do, I will not laugh or anything, or smile back at him to like tell him that I'm not interested in such a thing. And when he will see me, he did understand or did not understand, like, this is not my expectation. So is there any bad karma in that? Or I can just do that? Because if I did that, they will stop as I, yes.
To know whether or not you're creating unwholesome karma, you have to look at the action that you're doing, either mental, verbal, or bodily action, and ask yourself, is it causing harm to others? Is it causing harm to me? Or is it causing harm to both? So if you're smiling at somebody, are you causing any harm?
No.
Okay, so you're not producing any unwholesome karma by smiling at somebody, right? Because you're not causing any physical harm, you're not causing any harm to their material possessions, you're not causing any harm to their reputation. So whether you choose to smile or not is up to you, but you're not producing any unwholesome karma in that situation. In some situations, you might decide to smile, in other situations, you might not. And that's something that you've got to decide. Each individual situation is going to be a bit different. And yes, of course, I understand that not everybody's going to talk favorably of you, but you're surrounded by a lot of people with ego and a lot of people that are bitter and harsh and hostile and gossiping and slandering and with lots and lots of expectations. And as long as you're in this dirty bathtub, you're going to keep getting dirty, right? And this is what the Buddha teaches you, is to clean up your relationships. Of course, he did have people around that were meaning harm, but the Buddha didn't associate with these people. He distanced himself from these people. He's open to teaching any and all people, but he didn't associate closely with his cousin who was trying to kill him, right? He didn't do that. He teaches very clearly how important and how much of a priority it is to create wholesome relationships. Without wholesome relationships around you, your life isn't going to amount to anything, because not only are these relationships going to hurt you personally, but they're going to hurt you professionally too. I know you're a young guy and you haven't gone out in the professional world much yet, but if you've got a bunch of friends around you that you're calling friends who are degrading you and diminishing you and talking in this way about you, you're going to find it very difficult to build a professional career when you've got people around you that are doing these kinds of things. All right, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere else. So what I'll do then is just end class by thanking everyone for joining. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your interest to learn and practice these teachings. I appreciate your dedication and diligence to learning. As you would like to learn more, there's classes on Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and then there's various courses and retreats throughout the month that you're more than welcome to attend. And then, of course, there's books and audiobooks and videos and podcasts and all these other things, including even personal guidance that you can get help with. So this Sunday, I'm going to be in chapter 14 of this book, Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. This is all about cultivating healthy mental states, where you're going to learn about loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And this is where you can learn about certain symptoms that are in your mind and certain antidotes or remedies to those. So I'm going to be teaching that. It's a very short chapter. You can probably read it in about maybe 10, 15 minutes at most. I think it's only like maybe 2 pages. It might only take you even 5 to 8 minutes to actually read it. But then I'm going to teach it to you in class. So that's going to be on Sunday. And then, of course, next Wednesday, we'll be doing breathing mindfulness meditation together. And then this Saturday, we're going to be restarting the Pali Canon and English Study Group from the very beginning. You don't need to start the Pali Canon and English Study Group from the beginning, but this is an ideal time if you're interested in starting that program from the beginning, where on Saturday at 9 a.m. at the temple here in Chiang Mai and 9 p.m. online, I'll be starting from the very beginning, starting with volume 2, chapters 1 through 10. So you're always welcome to start that program at any point, but if you'd like to start from the very beginning, this is an ideal time to do that. So thank you all for joining our class today, and perhaps I'll see you guys in a future class. Have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee ka.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To provide support for this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha. To access more teachings, visit buddhadailywisdom.com. There, you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Remember to establish a daily, consistent meditation practice, along with learning and practicing these teachings. A well-developed meditation practice is the foundation in which to train the mind to attain enlightenment.